We've been watching a beautiful revival of sorts of the gospel of Jesus Christ, but we've also been watching some pretty evil and pretty vile things right alongside it. What is our role as Christians? What's our responsibility to be? Witnessing in a world that's hostile to God.
Welcome to No Apology with Emily and Chris. It's a variety talk show designed to have you laugh louder, dig deeper, and live larger in the Lord Jesus Christ. And coming up on today's show, we have 3 different videos we're going to be playing throughout the program. And for you audio-only listeners, we're going to try to set it up and tell you what is going on as best as possible because the videos that Emily wants to play today, the messaging in there translates to audio just as well. And so if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, thank you for being a part of it. Remember, you can subscribe even for free at freshroadmedia.com and join our tribe. We'd be glad you did. Emily, what are you talking about witnessing?
Well, I don't really know anybody personally who, after watching the Charlie Kirk memorial, was not uplifted and encouraged in their faith. But of course, there were also the naysayers, people like Don Lemon, who
Hack.
watched it and came away saying, well, that's just religious nationalism, and called the speech that was going on there language of dominion.
Here's what I don't understand about Don Lemon is
Yeah.
how can you get fired and still try to just do your shtick?
Yeah.
Who's funding him?
Yeah.
That's the question. I
Mhm.
mean, it's time for us to start looking at credibility, and that's
Yeah.
going to be my point throughout this.
Okay.
Is that there is a credibility loss that is so extreme,
Mhm.
and why conservative platforms still show these losers. And then try to give them, they show them so they can say, look at how bad they are, but they're still getting their message out. It just gets annoying.
Exactly. There's a line that's being crossed there. I agree with you totally, Chris. There's also Steve Bonnell II. He's known as Destiny online. He's what they call an influencer.
And he should have been arrested.
And he got into an argument. I think it was Pierce Morgan, and he literally refused to condemn the shooting. This got him booted off of Twitch. Twitch was the platform where he was making all his money. So he then goes on to X to complain, to say conservatives got him banned. Now he doesn't have any money. And now
he threatened all conservatives that they should be shot in the streets.
Yeah.
That's the guy, right?
He's full of, I don't know about that.
Yeah,
for a
that's
fact.
the guy.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
and
he should have not just been deplatformed. He should have been arrested for incitement.
But here's what,
whole nother story.
Here's what happens, and they take that and they flip it so that, they're the victim.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are being limited. They're the ones that are being banned. They're the ones that are losing out, and we just have to just weep for them. Much like Jimmy Kimmel, whose ratings were so low that when he came out with such abhorrent statements about the shooting of Charlie Kirk and literally lied about it, when his show was canceled and networks said we're not playing it anymore, he made the twist. He's now the victim. This is an attack on free speech.
Free speech.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Chris, you make
when was free speech an issue when Trump got deplatformed as the president of the United States?
Yeah, he cheered when I think it was Tucker Carlson was let go.
Roseanne Barr, same thing.
Yeah, exactly. So it's very hypocritical.
They did less than what these people have done. And so they've got to have a mantra. They got to come back and have a spin because they don't have any ideas. They don't have any agenda. They have one agenda, and that's to try to crush the right and Trump derangement syndrome. And we're seeing it on full display.
Yeah. I mean, they don't have an argument. They don't have a point to make. It's just crying and whining and complaining and making themselves the victim. Now, here's the thing, Chris, because I know that is a really hard thing for particularly people of your personality type. It's just.
What are you saying?
I see you get agitated.
Are you saying that I'm the abrasive pastor? That's my personal favorite, by the way.
I see you get frustrated, but here's the point that I want to make. Those people will always exist. Those people will always be around. And what you have to remember is there are other people. For instance, there's a woman, her name is Sana Ibrahimi. I hope I'm saying her name correctly. She's a former Muslim, and she escaped from Iran. She now lives in the U.S., And she is an advocate for the Iranian people and just the regime that they're living under. She wants to see that change. She loves America. She loves that she's able to now speak her mind and do the things that she was never able to do in Iran. And so she too, she's no longer a Muslim. She's not a Christian either. She's just here in the United States doing her advocacy for the people of Iran. She too watched the Charlie Kirk memorial. And it was very interesting. She had a long post about it, some comments, and I'm not going to read it or anything like that. But it was words to the effect that she saw a very stark contrast between what she grew up with under Islam and what she was witnessing in the Charlie Kirk memorial. And it was striking to her. And she recalled how under Islam, funerals are very different. They're very dark. They're very heavy. There's a lot of anguish and crying and words of warning. And they talk about that first night in the grave. But this memorial that she watched with Charlie Kirk, she said it was so different. They were talking about God's love, and it was light, and there was a sense of celebration and hope and joyfulness. And so that's what we really have to focus on. Now, her comments and her observations have not made headline news, right? But they are there, and that's what we have to remember. JK Rowling, also the famous author of the Harry Potter series, was obviously doing some reflection and evaluation as she saw the events unfold, the shooting particularly, and she also made a post. Now, Abdu Murray, he posted a beautiful response directly to JK Rowling in response to what she wrote. And I want to play it for us because I think the way that he did it and what he said was absolutely brilliant. And I want to talk about it afterwards. But first, I want to play that video.
It's a little more than It's a little more than a 2-minute video, and the audio is really what it is. And Abdu, of course, is near and dear to our heart because he kind of stole the show in our first documentary, Bible Idiots. But
good point. I forgot totally about that.
Let's do that.
Abdu Murray is in the movie Bible Idiots, and so he's a wonderful apologist for the gospel of Jesus Christ. And so when he saw those words of JK Rowling, it's like that, the open letters that people write to other people when statements are made. You can't necessarily talk directly to them, but you can write an open letter. And now we can have an open video.
All right, let's try it. Let's see if it works.
Struggle with religious faith. And I want to say first, her authenticity is quite refreshing. It takes real humility to say publicly, I have a God-shaped vacuum inside me, but I don't quite know what to do about it. That kind of transparency deserves our respect. Now, she goes on to say, I could probably list at least 20 more things I've changed my mind about. I don't currently have a single belief that couldn't be altered by clear, concrete evidence, and in all but one case, I know what that evidence would have to be. The exception, she says, is the God conundrum, because I don't know what I'd have to see to make me come down firmly on either side. I suppose that's the meaning of faith, believing without seeing proof, and that's why I'll probably go to my grave with that particular personal matter unresolved. Now, from a Christian perspective, I'd love to gently engage with what she said, because biblically, faith is not blind belief. The Greek word in the New Testament for faith is pistis, which means trust. It's not a leap into the dark, it's a step into the light of what we have good reason to believe is true. And there really are great reasons. There's philosophical evidence that God must be the necessary uncaused cause behind everything that exists. There's scientific evidence. The universe is finely tuned in astonishing ways so that life like ours could exist. And there's historical evidence that Jesus not only died on a Roman cross, but rose again, showing that God cares personally and deeply for the people he made. Now, none of this is proof in the sense that it leaves no room for doubt, but it is enough to move us past reasonable doubts. And it's exactly why the God-shaped vacuum JK Rowling speaks about is so important. It's a longing that points to something real. It's a hunger that points to true food. She said she'll probably go to her grave with this personal matter unresolved. But here's the good news. The one who rose from the grave offers to resolve it, not
Yeah.
just for her, but for all of us. Jesus doesn't only give us reasons to believe, he gives us himself. And he alone satisfies the deepest longings of the human heart. So I'm grateful for JK Rowling's honesty, and I pray that she and all of us will see that faith isn't belief without evidence. It's trust in the God who has revealed himself in creation, in history, and ultimately in Christ. God bless everyone.
Was that amazing or was that amazing?
That was good.
Yeah, there's some things that really stood out that I think we can take from Abdu. Number one, when JK mentioned, I'll probably go to my grave with this unresolved, you get the sense that that was maybe the kicker that that made him think I need to respond to this, because how can you not care about her when she says something like that?
Well, the other thing is it just shows that God has left us all without excuse.
Mm-hmm.
The Bible says the fool in his heart says there's no God. The evidence in natural revelation, they call it, is all over the place. And the fact that we have this eternity in our hearts, we have this God-shaped hole, as Pascal used to say.
Mm-hmm.
And J.K. Rowling's not exactly a portrait of Christianity.
No.
But she contemplates and she tries to deal with things honestly, apparently. And that's what Abdu is really saying, is that this is what somebody looks like when they're dealing with something honestly.
Yes.
And that's what we don't have in our society anymore, especially on the left. Lefty is so far gone that they cannot look at things objectively and honestly anymore. And I am on the side with a lot of the commentators out there now that are saying, it's how are we going to coexist with these people? How, sharing the gospel is the only way. And Charlie's whole event was the gospel being shared on a national level that I had never seen in my life, in my 60 years on this earth. So
yeah. I didn't even
here we
realize.
go. Let's see what happens.
I knew he was influential. I had no idea that it reached this far and wide, but praise be to God. But the point is that Abdu Murray clearly cared. He found an opportunity and reached out to her in a very caring way. Like, he cares about her, and his response is something not just for her, but for all of us as well. Charlie did the same. The second thing was Abdu found a person who was apparently open a little bit. And I think that's what you were getting at, Chris, where it's like, some people cannot be reasoned with, like the Destiny and Jimmy Kimmel. Clearly they're looking at this stuff and there's nothing that's going to persuade them. But
Jimmy last night said that he was following Jesus now.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway.
Exactly. Whatever. And, a lot of times Christians want to fall over backwards.
Yeah.
And try to think, well, oh, this is great. This is, it most of the time isn't real, number one.
Right.
There's
true.
two things going on, and this is a long theological point that I do not have time to make.
Okay.
It's just going to be brief, and that is, there is a concept that we can't out-sin the long arm of grace, and nobody's beyond the reach of Jesus to save them. That's true. With the exception, there is a person that is not reachable. That is the person that God has given over to a reprobate mind in Romans chapter 1. What that means is that there's no coming back. There's no turning back. There's no reasoning. Now you're throwing your pearls to swine. And it's time for Christians to be able to show love in a quiet, comfortable, patient way to a point.
Right.
And then it has to be, I'm sorry, we got to cut ties with you.
Yeah.
If you want to fight, then we have to fight back. And, justice has to reign supreme. People need to lose their jobs. People need to go to jail over some of the stuff. That Destiny dude needs to go to jail for what he said. He's backtracked everything. And then when they lose their money and they lose their jobs, then it's somebody else's fault. And it's, free speech and my rights. Where were you when Roseanne Barr got canceled? Where were you when the president got troubled?
Yeah. So I think
that's the two things. Trying to know the difference. And guess what? Many times we're not going to get that discernment. So we have to err on the side that nobody's beyond the grace of Jesus Christ most of the time.
Right.
But if they show themselves to be complete reprobate mind, just assume God's given them over, and we have to then protect ourselves, protect our people, and hopefully protect this country. See this country come back. I mean, we got women now taking Tylenol every day. They're pregnant on camera because they hate Trump.
It's insane.
Tylenol
Yeah.
came out and said, we advise you don't use this product when you're
Read the
pregnant.
label,
But
people.
Trump said not to take it, so we're going to take it.
Yeah, that's the
How
reprobate. That's the
reprobate are you?
reprobate. Yeah, that you're talking about.
There's no point in trying to reason and share the gospel with these kind of folks.
Right. And so having the
And that's hard for the Christian ear to hear. Go ahead, having that discernment.
I'm just trying to discern. Are you done or not? I don't know. Because you're making really, really, really good points. And that's the commonality when you look at Abdu, when you look at even Charlie Kirk. What are they doing? Charlie Kirk went onto those campuses to try to find those ones that, number one, were already conservatives, to let them know that they're not alone. And number two, there had to be in this vast student body those who were like, they didn't really know which side to fall on. They didn't really know how to come down on that issue, just like JK Rowling did. And that's who Charlie was out there trying to reach, those people that might have a crack that you can get into, a crack in their defense or a crack in that stony heart that you can penetrate. That's what we as Christians need to be looking for in people when we decide to okay, we're gonna, share the gospel and we're gonna reach out to that person. Because if you're reaching out to someone like the Jimmy Kimmels of the world and like, what you're wasting your time. So
Well, and that's why I always say proclaim and don't debate.
yeah.
And I had somebody say, Chris, you always say proclaim and don't debate. I've been saying it for so many years that, I mean, it's almost like my pendulum truth and love message where I've spoken that all over the country. But Charlie debated and you hold up Charlie. What gives? Well, Charlie never debated his Christianity. If you watch his debates, he would debate and engage with people in dialogue. But then when it came time for his faith, he always just simply proclaimed it.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about. And, look,
Truth is truth. And Charlie made that clear.
I have never known somebody that has been soundly saved because they lost an argument.
Right.
That's what I mean when I say proclaim, don't debate.
Right.
And then they might see the crack in their stone heart. Then the gospel might break through. The Holy Spirit might break through and call them. And then they are another example of somebody who we might have thought was reprobate, but they were not, beyond the arm of God's grace through Jesus Christ.
Yeah, God has
that makes sense.
God has to create that crack that then you can penetrate. And so the people like Kimmel, Destiny, don't throw your pearls to swine. What you need to do is what Abdu did. He's a great demonstration of find people who could possibly be open. And that's where you can invest your time and your energy and your prayer and your words. And if you think that's harsh to kind of distinguish between those two people groups, I want to take us to Luke chapter 16, because in that chapter, Jesus is teaching parables throughout, mostly directed towards his disciples, but it's clear that the Pharisees were hearing these things as well. And he gets to chapter 16 and he's teaching about, the rich man and Lazarus and how the rich man is in hell and wants to go back and warn his brothers and so on. And God says, no, you don't get to do that. That too sounds very harsh. There's certain people that you don't get to go back and do that. Why? Let's go to verse 31 because it's a very powerful verse. And it really addresses what we're talking about. So Luke chapter 16, verse 31.
He said to him, if they do not hear Moses and the prophets, neither will they be convinced if someone should rise from the dead.
This is Jesus speaking. He said those words. And so it's not about the miracles. It's not about the, supernatural or anything like that. Listen to the prophets. Listen to the words. Like Abdu said, it's a rational thing. Listen to what's being said. So as a Christian, look for those, don't be discouraged. Know that there's people out there that are ready to hear the gospel. Look for those people and invest in those people, because the people that look at that expression of faith and they still reject it, you're wasting your time. Now, on the flip side of that, there's a lot of talk about a lot of talking heads and commentators that are talking about the Charlie Kirk Memorial and how great it was. And Erica's words of forgiveness were just striking. Everybody could feel the power that was behind it. But then there are people that, yeah, they look at it and they realize this is good. This is right, what she said. But their response to it is, well, she's just a very strong woman. She's just very strong. She's much stronger than me. In fact,
I don't. Whose response was that?
just a lot of talking heads, commentators, and so on that were talking about it. She's a great example for us to follow. Or they would hear her and say, I just don't think I could do that, even though they knew and acknowledged that what she was saying rang true and good and right. Right?
Yeah, I what I saw was somebody who was really struggling with that truth, but knew it was truth and
Right.
had to say it.
Oh, it was not hard. It was not easy for her to
No.
say, but forgiveness is an act of the will. That's what you have to remember. And the rest of you will follow if you follow that. It's an act of the will. It's not a warm, fuzzy feeling. And so many times I just want to tell these people that are talking about it, what you don't understand is it's Jesus. What you're looking at is not a strong woman, but a woman who is strengthened by Jesus. It's Jesus who strengthens us as women or as people to do things that really run contrary to human nature. And it only comes through a surrendered life to Christ. And so that is the missing link. And so we need to continue to share Jesus and remember that these people that are being impacted, it's more common than you think. Don't get discouraged by the headlines and, who makes headlines and all the arguments that are going on. Follow Abdu's example there and find the people who might be open and invest in there. There's one last video that I want to share because it's very appropriate for today. And it gets back to the point that there's lots of people. Even though Erica Kirk has a very high profile position, she's got a big organization behind her. And so she is making headlines. This happens a lot. She's not an anomaly. It happens with ordinary people in ordinary circumstances who find themselves in really tough situations, just like Erica. And so I want to show this video. This happened a few years ago, and it's really poignant.
He's an animal. I wish for him to have a long, suffering, cruel death.
He's gonna go to hell, and that's where he belongs.
Mr. Ridgway, there are people here that hate you. I'm not one of them. You've made it difficult to live up to what I believe, and that is what God says to do, and that's to forgive. You are forgiven, sir.
That was a video clip from a courtroom many years ago. And this person that he's talking to, Mr. Ridgway, was a serial murderer. And the man that forgave him was a man whose daughter was killed by him. And of course, with a lot of trials, once a conviction is handed down, they give the victims' loved ones an opportunity to say whatever it is they want to say. And there were lots and lots of people who understandably were very angry at this man and hated this man. But what you notice in the video, if you're watching, is as people were hurling insults at him and telling him how much they hated him and he wanted to go, he sat there stone-faced, unmoved, just didn't care what these people had to say. But all of a sudden, this older gentleman who came up, and again, it was very difficult. You could tell it was difficult for him to say, I forgive you. The response of this man who had just murdered this gentleman's daughter, he started to break down. He started to crack. And the video stops short, but he full on breaks down. And so that love of Jesus Christ, it is impacting people. Don't be discouraged. As Christians, get out there, live the life that God has called you to do. Even when you find it difficult, Jesus will give you strength, because you will penetrate those stony hearts with your life and your words, witnessing to Jesus Christ.